You catch a cold in March. Nothing dramatic. A scratchy throat, a few rough days on the couch, maybe a missed shift at work. But somewhere inside you, right now, a fragment of DNA that isn't technically human is quietly helping decide how bad this is about to get. Your body runs on instructions written by thousands of ancestors you'll never know existed. Most of that code is fully modern human. A small, specific percentage of it isn't. So why does a piece of extinct hominin DNA, inherited from a species that vanished roughly 40,000 years ago, still have enough influence to put a living person in a hospital bed today? In September 2020, geneticists Hugo Seeberg and Svante Pääbo, working out of the Karolinska Institute and the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, published a discovery in the journal Nature that stunned even the two of them. A cluster of genes on chromosome 3, already flagged by other researchers as a major risk factor for severe COVID-19, turned out to match the DNA of a roughly 50,000-year-old Neanderthal from Vindija Cave in Croatia almost exactly. Of the genetic variants that made up the risky segment, 11 were found in that same Neanderthal genome. People carrying the modern version of this stretch of chromosome 3 face up to 3 times the risk of needing mechanical ventilation if infected. It's carried by roughly 1 in 6 people in Europe, and by close to half the population in South Asia. In East Asia, it's almost non-existent. A virus that didn't exist until late 2019 was, in a very real sense, being made deadlier by a gene handed down from a species that had been extinct for tens of thousands of years. But a global pandemic is a strange, narrow test of anything. So does this Neanderthal inheritance only surface when something as freakishly unlikely as a novel coronavirus comes along? Or has it been quietly running in the background the entire time? Everyone assumes interbreeding with Neanderthals was a one-time historical footnote, good for a percentage point of ancestry trivia and nothing else. The truth is messier, and it's been sitting in ordinary medical records for years, waiting to be cross-referenced. In February 2016, geneticist John Capra and his graduate student Corinne Simonti at Vanderbilt University combed through the genomes and electronic health records of more than 28,000 adult patients across 9 U.S. hospitals, using a shared research network that links anonymized DNA samples to lifetime medical histories. They matched each patient's Neanderthal-derived DNA against a full record of documented conditions, and found statistically significant links to 12 separate traits: a meaningfully higher risk of depression, faster blood clotting, a skin condition called actinic keratosis, and, strangely, nicotine addiction, despite the fact that Neanderthals never so much as saw a tobacco plant in their entire existence. Using a separate analysis method, the same team found the clotting risk association again, tied this time to a completely different DNA marker, which made the result far harder to dismiss as statistical noise. As Capra put it at the time, the brain is complicated enough that borrowing genetic changes from a completely separate evolutionary path was never going to arrive free of side effects. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. That faster blood clotting sounds almost useful on paper. A wound seals quicker, less blood is lost, infection has less time to set in. Until you remember what a lifetime of heightened clotting risk actually does to a modern artery across 80 sedentary years of desk jobs, fast food, and chronic low-grade stress, it was never designed to handle. A trait engineered for surviving spear wounds and open injuries on the Ice Age tundra doesn't automatically know what to do with a body that mostly just sits in traffic and scrolls a phone. So is this only about disease risk sitting quietly in a lab database somewhere? Or does this ancient DNA actually change how your body feels the world, moment to moment? In 2020, the same Hugo Seeberg, working with colleagues at the Max Planck Institute, discovered a Neanderthal variant of a gene called SCN9A, which encodes a sodium channel directly responsible for triggering pain signals in the nervous system. 3 specific amino acid substitutions, all traceable to Neanderthal ancestry, change how that channel behaves. Drawing on UK biobank data covering hundreds of thousands of participants, the team found that carrying this Neanderthal variant made people report meaningfully more pain in everyday life. An effect Zeber compared directly to being roughly 8 years older than you actually are, purely from carrying this one stretch of ancient code. Follow-up research on more than 1,600 healthy volunteers in Colombia confirmed it under controlled lab conditions. After sensitizing the skin with mustard oil, carriers of the Neanderthal variant had a measurably lower threshold for mechanical pain than everyone else in the study. The gene turned out to be rare in Europeans, but strikingly common in people from Latin America, tracing a line straight back through population movements that happened long after the original interbreeding event ever took place. Everyone assumes that whatever DNA survived from an extinct species must be either purely harmful baggage or fossilized irrelevance, doing nothing at all. Neither is true. In a 2017 study published in the American Journal of Human Genetics, using data from more than 112,000 volunteers in the UK Biobank, geneticists Michael Danman and Janet Kelso at the Max Planck Institute found Neanderthal DNA quietly shaping traits that have nothing to do with disease whatsoever. Skin tone, hair color, and even chronotype, the internal clock that decides whether you're a functioning morning person or a useless one long before noon. Some of what modern humans inherited wasn't a curse being passed down through generations, waiting to malfunction. It was a toolkit, precisely built for a world that no longer exists in the same shape it once did. So the real answer to why your Neanderthal DNA sometimes feels like it's working against you isn't that it's broken, or malicious, or a genetic glitch rattling around uselessly in your genome, waiting to be patched. It's that every piece of it was shaped by natural selection to solve an entirely different set of problems. Cold climates, chronic open wounds, unfamiliar pathogens, a body that needed to clot fast and heal outdoors without antibiotics or a hospital within reach. Modern life kept the code and quietly deleted all the context that made it useful. It kept the lock and lost the world the key was cut for. The mismatch between the two is the entire story, playing out in real time inside billions of bodies that have no idea it's happening. You still catch that cold in March, somewhere in your chromosome 3, in a stretch of DNA older than agriculture, older than cities, older than almost every idea a human being has ever had. A Neanderthal from a cave in Croatia is quietly still voting on how your immune system responds tonight. You didn't choose that inheritance, and there's no returning it, no editing it out before dinner. You are not fighting off some stranger's leftover biology, contaminating an otherwise pure system. You are living inside the unfinished argument between two species, who, in the smallest and strangest possible sense, never actually stopped being the same family.